Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a special guest that will be sharing her badassery. But before we begin, here is today's badassery bestowment. To stage or not to stage. So prior to listing your completed rehab, you need to decide if you should stage the property. By definition, staging is the activity or practice of styling and furnishing a property for sale in such a way as to enhance its attractiveness to potential buyers. The cost for staging can range from a few $100s for a room or two up to thousands depending on the property's price point. Staging costs also go up the longer the house sits on the market. So many home buyers lack the vision of what a home will look like without furniture. So working with a staging company will set your listing apart from others. In my area, the average price point for homes is around $300,000. Homes in the $200,000 and under price point typically fly off the market, so we never stage those properties. Everything else above $300,000 will get staged. If you have a tough layout, staging is especially important to help the home buyer visualize what they can do with a certain area. If you cannot afford a staging company, you can virtually stage a property just for the listing photos. And this can cost around $25 via a virtual assistant. And you can find those on Fiverr. So now on to today's episode. I'm so excited. She's a mother and a grandmother. She's the youngest of about 40 or 50 siblings. I'm not sure. She's going to have to fill us in on that. She runs a super successful business all on her own. And she's one of my coaches. Let me welcome JoAnna Anderson. Welcome, JoAnna.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Oh my goodness. You are so amazing. And I'm so honored to have you here. And you don't have 40 or 50 siblings. You're the youngest, aren't you?
I am the youngest.
Of how many?
28.
Oh my goodness. That just blows I was close in 40 or 50. So that is just very, very impressive. And you're in Charlotte, correct?
Yeah.
Charlotte, North Carolina?
I live in Charlotte most days.
Gotcha. And how did you get involved in real estate?
Well, you want the long story or the short story?
I want the exciting story because everything about you is exciting. So, I bow to you and your crazy successfulness. So, I want to hear it all. Yes.
So, early, I can't even remember the year. I was getting married and we had a house built in Kernersville, brand new house. And after we got married, 3 months later, my husband at the time, I'm no longer married. My husband at the time got a job in Fayetteville where we had just moved from, but it was a significant increase in salary. So we decided to move, but we just built a new house in a new community where they were building newer houses. So we could not sell our property for what we wanted to, or what we needed to really, because we just purchased that property and they could just have a new one built better than ours or the same as ours with more bang. So we had to find a property in Fayetteville that we could afford to pay both mortgages. We still put the new house on the market. It sat on the market for like 10 months.
Oh my goodness.
But in Fayetteville, I decided we were going to buy a really crappy house in a very good neighborhood because that's what we could afford. And I could just see the vision that we could fix it while we lived in it. In my mind, we would spend a lifetime there. So against my husband's desire, we still purchased that property. And I fixed it up. My family came down. We painted. We did a whole bunch of stuff. Anyhow, we fixed it up. And then within a year, we were moving again.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So we sold that property and we made $40,000. So I was like, wow, this is what we can do unintentionally. What can we do with intention? So years later, we decided to actually take action, and we invested in our education with Fortune Builders. And now I had been a teacher all of my adult life.
That's right. So stop for a second here, because I'm a former teacher as well. What did you teach?
I taught high school biology.
Oh my God. And I was middle school chorus for 16 years. How long were you in the classroom?
14 years.
Okay. Yes. Just long enough, right?
I would still be doing it if they let me just work Wednesdays.
Yes. That could happen.
So I was driving home from work, and I, heard a commercial for Fortune Builders to attend, like a 90-minute session. I was like, okay, it's free. It's what we've, been wanting to do. And so I went to that meeting, and even before the meeting, I got the talk, we're not buying anything. We'd been to numerous timeshares, and it didn't feel good. So we had decided this was going to be the same, and we weren't going to buy anything. So we got there within 30 minutes. We knew we wanted more, and we ended up buying the full package from Fortune Builders. And I mean the full package. We got everything they offered, because neither of us really, we didn't have any experience. It was just by chance that we sold that property and made that kind of money in a year. So going into real estate with no experience at all, I was very coachable, because I believe in education. I know the power of it. So I was very coachable. And within 8 months, we did 3 deals at the 8-month marker. So a lot of grind for 8 months, a lot of rejection, but we kept going because we had invested our money for the very first time for me, investing in myself. And then at 8 months, we got 3 properties at once. 2 we wholesaled, 1 we rehab. And on the 1 we rehab, which I was fully in charge of rehabbing, I made a net of $50,000.
Wow.
And that only took like 6 weeks. So I was like, this is the exact same amount that I would make for a full year as a teacher. And I just year in 6 weeks. So I was definitely sold. I was sold. And we just threw more coal in the engine and kept churning.
That's awesome. And I know exactly what you probably paid for that education, since I'm in the same education program with Fortune Builders, which is how I've met you. And so that paid off your education right there.
Absolutely.
Yep. And so worth it. And then you just moved on to the next one. Awesome. So the first time you coached me like live in person was at a local event, and you talked about goals, and you do not remember this, but it was such a game changer for me, because you made me announce what my goal was. And I was like, I don't want people to know. And at the time I wanted to create a online course. Our friend Maylani Hawk did one, and I was like, I really like that. I want to put my teaching hat back on. And you pushed me to publicly announce it. And I'm like, well, shit, now I'm going to have to actually go through with this. And so it evolved into later me creating RAIN, which is the mastermind. So I know you have made a huge difference in many people's lives. And I want you to know that I truly appreciate it. And you definitely had that effect on me. So
thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes. So you coach as well. So tell me about the type of coaching that you do with real estate investors.
So I coach for Fortune Builders. So they're new and experienced students. I coach for them. Then I coach on the side for goal setting specifically. That is near and dear to my heart. I'm launching a course in December for goal setting, and I also coach on goal setting. And it's not specifically for real estate. It's about life in general. We have, goals that we want to accomplish. A lot of the time, real estate is just our vehicle for financing those goals. For example, in 2018, I set out a goal to do 10 5Ks and 2 10Ks within the year. And I exceeded that goal, but I had never set a goal like that. I never really set a goal that really broke it down to how I was going to do it, who's going to hold me accountable, and so many other parts of it that we don't think of. But I was able to exceed that. And so I was like, I think I have a gift for it. And I think other people should really tap into their goals and really hone out a plan to achieve those. And, in 2021, it's my goal to help 2,000 people set their goals and achieve their goals.
That's fantastic. And I know you're real big on helping people discover their whys. So for me, like you have, I see your family on Facebook all the time. I know that you're creating a legacy. I have pets. That's my legacy, is my pets. So how do you help people discover their why?
It's a series of questions, just really getting down to the core of what makes them tick. And a lot of people have these surface level answers, but it's usually much deeper than that. And everyone's why is not legacy or their kids.
I feel that way because that when I hear that question come up, I'm like, oh, here we go. Everybody's kids. And so I'm always curious as to hearing people who don't have kids, what their why is.
Yeah, it's, people have, travel goals, and that could be their why, or it may be proving someone wrong. Sometimes that's really the reason why they're doing something, and getting down to that why really helps them to own it and do something about it.
Awesome. You help people with overcoming adversity. How do you do that? How are you with overcoming adversity?
Oh gosh, I have had so many opportunities to overcome adversity in my own personal life, just starting out from birth itself. Like my mom was highly encouraged to have an abortion with me.
Wow.
Yeah, because she had massive fibroids, and she already had a whole bunch of kids. I'm the last. So she was highly encouraged. And also, Black women at that time did not.
Wait, you're Black?
I'm a dark brown.
Chocolate.
They just didn't have access to good or honest medical care. And so having a bunch of babies, number one, that set my mom back tremendously. It cut out a lot of opportunities for her. So it probably could have been, a very logical choice to have an abortion with me. But thank God she chose not to, or do that with any of her kids. And then because there's 28 of us, so many of us.
28.
We were extremely poor. And this is not even on a poverty level. I grew up in a house until I was about 5. No, I was probably 7, in a house that did not have running water.
Wow.
So that's no plumbing, or no plumbing that worked. Our lights were cut off regularly. We never had a phone. We had to go to the neighbors to borrow water. Like, how you borrow water? So
Wow.
we'd get these huge jugs, and we'd go to our neighbors' outside spigot and fill them up with water. And that was what we had to use to cook with, to bathe with, to drink from, and that, although as a child, I didn't recognize that this is not the way you have to live. This was kind of normal for me. Looking back on it, and I had a great childhood. Let me just say that. Great time spent in the woods that kids will never get to experience in this day and age. But looking back on it, that's not okay. For a landlord, and my mom paid rent at that house. It's
Wow.
not like we just broke into some vacant building. My mom paid rent at that house, and never did the owner fix the plumbing. or anything. So that's just not right.
No.
And I know that other people sometimes have to live that way. At the beginning of COVID, I went to, someone just sent me a message in Messenger and told me of someone that was in need. And this is a person that I know personally. She's older than me and does not have a good reputation. A lot of people would not want to work with her. So I was like, okay, it's COVID. I'm going to go get some groceries. The lady told me that they didn't have groceries. They didn't, have a lot of things. So I just went to the grocery store. I chose like 3 or 4 families that this lady had told me about. I just loaded up with groceries and I stopped by her house first. And I went in that house. There was no running water. It was very reminiscent of my childhood, but this is a grown person with no kids. She had just had a major fire that burned her. She was heating the house with a kerosene heater. Wow. She walked by and her gown caught on fire. She had severe burns. And here she is also living in these conditions. So I thought, I'm just going to deliver food. Maybe that's all she needs, and toilet paper, so the necessities. But she needed so much more. I immediately grabbed her up. She didn't have her medication because she couldn't afford it. I took her to the pharmacy and got all the medications that she needed. I made sure she had a hot meal that night because she didn't have power at the house either to run a refrigerator. I made sure she had ice for her cooler and anything that needed to be chilled. And, there's another situation of a landlord that is not providing, I can't even say quality housing. This is like ridiculous. These slumlords are out here collecting rent, even though it might not be market rent. People, we are humans and we deserve decency. So I have, a mission, a goal to really provide quality housing for those that are in low income situations, as I was. And they should not have to accept less than the basics of running water, electricity, a
Absolutely.
safe place to live.
And so you found this project, and I'm sure you've been doing this for a while, but I just saw this new one that you just you purchased in Richmond. Is it Richmond, Virginia?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So that one, it is Cape Cod. The attic was never finished. So we're going to finish the attic. It's in the worst shape. The floors have fallen in. The roof is falling in. It might even make sense to knock it down, but no, I just have to take on the hard projects for some reason. So it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. We're turning it into a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. It will be a rental property. I like to work with Section 8 tenants, especially in Richmond. I want them to have the experience of having something that's new or feels new.
Such a gift that we have you on this earth to provide that for people. So thank you.
Thank you.
Talk a little bit. I love this story. So you recently bought a couple months ago a kind of a rundown. Is it a hotel? Is that what it was? I want to hear about this because
I haven't actually purchased it yet.
Okay.
This is my first commercial property. Okay. And due diligence is taking longer than expected. So this is a hotel in my hometown. We didn't even know it was a hotel because it hadn't been ran as a hotel in probably 60 years.
Wow.
And it's run down. Someone tried to live in it as their personal residence, which is way too enormous. It has 3 stories. They tried to live on the first floor, which really was about 2 rooms out of the first floor. So it currently has 16 rooms, but there are shared bathrooms on each floor and not in good condition.
But so, I remember the story, though, about when you were in there and what you found that used to be hanging in the lobby area, I guess it was.
Oh, yeah. So I didn't see this the first day that I went through the property. I was just so excited about the opportunity that I didn't even look at this. But the next time I came through, I brought my daughters with me. And we went in the first room and they were like, Mom, do you see this? So I looked, and it was a picture of 3 Black people hanging at the courthouse and a crowd of white onlookers. And then there was another painting of slaves at the big house or the master's house carrying off a coffin. So my daughters were really set back by that, but I was like, that is not where we are today.
No.
This is important to our history of who we are and what we can be and how far we've come. And the sky is the limit for us. So at first I was like, I would never display this in my hotel. But now I'm thinking I will keep those pictures in my hotel. I will post them because it is also from a local artist. I went to school with his kids.
Oh my goodness.
So this isn't like they painted it at that time. They painted this from a fresh perspective. So I will keep it in the hotel along with how our race, how our group of people have progressed through the years, how we've overcome adversity to even becoming the first Black president of the United States, the first Black female vice president of the United States, and so much more. So the people that own this hotel are not like me.
And now you're making history with this hotel.
Exactly. I'm a part of that progression.
I love it. So I know you also value your network. How can someone go about improving their network?
Oh, well, in today's world of COVID, it's actually easier than before, because before we had all these excuses of time. I can't go to the meetings. I can't do this, but networking on social media has become even more prevalent and important. And I think, people just get in those Facebook groups with like-minded individuals, whether it's real estate or some other source. You can really grow your network there and increase your own value by adding value and then receiving from others.
And at the start of the episode, I talked about my badassery bestowment and I gave tips on staging or not staging. So because I look up to you so much, I would love it if you could share a little badassery bestowment for my listeners.
When you hit me with that, I was like, I don't know what, where to go here.
You talked about getting an accountability partner, and that's, picking the right person is tough.
And sometimes you need more. Like I have 3 best friends, and they are best friends for different reasons. Some know me or know more of me on an emotional side. Some know me more on professional badass woman side. So I think having more than one accountability is necessary for some people. Like I am multiple people in one, I have multiple facets that need to be encouraged, that need to be kept in check. For example, just last week, I was like, I'm not doing anything. I got like 5 properties sitting and I'm not really concerned about it. I'm not doing anything. So my friend Mario from Detroit called me and we talk real estate sometimes, or we talk real estate almost all the time. And he was like, yeah, so how are things going? I coached him and I was congratulating him because he finally got off his ass and started doing something in real estate and he's kicking butt. So then he asked me how it's going. And usually I'm like, oh, it's great. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I was like, you know what? It's not going so great. I'm kind of in a funk. I have deals and I'm not really doing anything about it. And he was like, that's unacceptable because that's totally not you. And he was like, so how are we going to get out of this? He encouraged me and, the thing is, I know myself very well that I can say I'm in a funk. Nobody has to tell me. I'm like, okay, well, I'm in a funk. And sometimes I'm okay with that. And he knows that it's not okay for me to be okay with that. So the next day, he sent me a text that was like, girl, get off your ass. You are this, you are that, and go back to being great.
And sometimes we need that friend just to give us the kick in the ass. So
yes,
that's great. So the second part of my episode, because you are a badass, and I like to know what makes you a badass.
I guess I'm a badass because I have overcome a lot of adversity, much that people don't know about, because I just keep going. I'm not going to let things hold me back. If it's not a brick wall in front of me, I'm not stopping. And even if it is a brick wall, I'm going to keep running and push it over. So when I reached 40, and I got a divorce, I really got a chance to rediscover who I am and what I want out of life. And I stopped making excuses for myself. I stopped listening to what people said I could not do. And I started really being vocal about it all. And I stopped apologizing for it. This is how I feel. This is the way it's going to be. You don't like it, move over.
So your company is named Remnant Properties.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So where did that name come from?
It's mostly biblical.
Okay.
So I had to start this company after the divorce because my ex-husband took our business. Well, it's fine. It's fine. This business is better than the other one ever has been.
Well, of course. Got your badass running it.
So he took the business, and I was like, what is this going to be? What is the new JoAnna going to look like? Am I still going to do real estate? Trying to figure all those things after divorce, because for 22 years, I was married. I was in a partnership. It was never just about me. So then I had to focus on what is this going to be? And I thought about how the flood took everything away, everyone away, and left Noah and his family. And I felt like I was the remnant of the flood, so to speak, the divorce, the former business. And God was going to bless me as he blessed Noah and his family, and multiply all of my efforts tremendously as he did with Noah and his family.
That's fantastic. And it's got a woman's silhouette. Am I correct in the logo? I love it. All right. So because we are a badass episode, I like to use the acronym of badass. And I always ask people, what is a book for the B in badass? And I always say besides the Bible, because everyone wants to say that. I'm like, everybody knows about the Bible. So what was a book that made a huge difference in your life?
Hands down, 10X, Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone gets me going. He is so crass.
Yes.
He is unapologetic for the things that he says, and it's very real. He's cut your bullshit and get to work.
And what does the 10X mean?
That you take what you're doing and you multiply it by 10. You do 10 times better than your goal, because your goal is a low level thinking in most cases. So once I read that, and I went to 10X in Miami to the conference, I realized that I think too small. And even sometimes now, like it wasn't a cure-all, but it was eye-opening that I do think too small, that I have way more in the tank than I let out. And so I'm stepping on the gas now.
I love it.
I'm revving my engine.
All right. So with your engine revved, what is for the first A in badass, what is some advice that you received? And if you can remember who gave it to you?
Oh, well, this is it's a life lesson. I'll say it's not necessarily about real estate. It's just about life. My dad, who's dead now, fathered all of those children.
Who's busy?
And I, being the last one, I probably got the most quality time with him. And so he was not around when I was growing up. I would see him in passing kind of, but he wasn't a part of our household. He didn't provide any support for my mom or us, but he was there. So when I got older, high school, he and I really began to form a relationship. And he would take me to college, back and forth to college sometimes, and we would have these deep conversations. So my dad was an abuser physically to my mom and all of the women.
Wow.
Really bad abuse. I never got to witness it because I'm the last one. I was the end of their relationship, but the beginning of something wonderful. But my siblings did get to see my dad beat my mom.
Ugh.
And so we were driving to school. He was taking me back to college. And I was just asking him, I was like, hey, why did you beat my mom? And he had been saved and he was a different man at this point. So he said, because she let me.
Wow.
And that was so profound for me that people can only do to you what you allow them to do. And I mean, I don't fault my mom at it. She was looking for something and that was her way of receiving it. I guess that was her way of receiving love. I don't even try to understand it. But what I do understand is that it's true. People only do to you what you allow them to do. So you really have to take control of your actions, your feelings, what you allow to happen to you.
Wow. And I don't see many people getting much past you these days. So I definitely see you living that piece of advice. So the D in badass is drive. What drives you to be successful?
Legacy for me.
Okay.
Legacy based on time.
C, legacy.
So growing up poor, that's all part of it. There was never going to be an inheritance from my mom, to my mom from her parents. And I want to make sure that changes for my kids. So not only financial legacy, some actual asset, but education. They need to know everything that I know so that they can be better than I've ever been.
And who's they? You have two
I
daughters.
have two girls, two daughters and a granddaughter. And they get to know which properties are going to be theirs. I'll say, well, this is Maddie's property when I'm gone. This is Reagan's property. And I'll take them to those properties for the most part. Now, my oldest is out of the house now, so she doesn't travel with me that much, but the youngest one does. And so she knows which properties are hers when I'm gone. And so the time part comes in. I had kidney failure with my youngest. During pregnancy, my kidneys failed.
Wow.
And at that point, I was actually faced with death. So the doctor told me that I had to have an abortion or one of us would not survive. I obviously did not have that abortion. I think it's probably because my mom chose better with me and I felt that I had to do the same. It was a very tough pregnancy. And on many occasions, I would go to bed with my feet propped up because I had gained like 60 pounds of just water weight. My legs were leaking with fluid because they were so swollen. So I go to bed with my legs elevated so my feet could go down and I would wake up with my head swollen. I would go to bed thinking I'm not going to wake up. And so once I had her, I thought my body would regulate. It did not. My kidneys continued to fail, but life improved. And I think that was because of my mindset. And so 15 years now, it's been 15 years. I have not had a kidney transplant and I've not been on dialysis. I feel absolutely normal. I do every single thing that I want to do physically. This disease does not hold me back. And my kidneys only function at about 18%.
Oh my goodness.
They are faithful.
Wow.
And so, I have for 15 years, I have lived with the reality that I'm probably not going to live to retirement age. So I've made a lot of changes because of that. I'm not going to wait to retire at 65. I may not make it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm retiring at 52. That's my full retirement. I'm having my first retirement in 2.5 years. And that is when I get to live a nomad life and travel and do all the things that I want to do. I'm not waiting for the time that the world tells me I can retire. I am in charge of this, and I'm making plans so that I can enjoy life now and then.
Well, the legacy doesn't stop with your children. You have made such an influence on so many others' lives. So you definitely, and I reap the benefits of having you in my life and listening to you. So thank you for providing that legacy. The A in badass is aspiration. I'm always wanting to know what people's goals are. I'm a big goal setter. So what is a goal that you are currently working on?
So the 2.5 year first retirement, in order to get to my first retirement and live that nomad life, I have to have 40 rentals.
To pay for that nomad life.
Exactly. Yep. I have to have that passive income so that I can live wherever, do whatever, and not worry about working.
And where are you now with those 40 rentals?
I have 10.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so in 2.5 years, you're going to have 40 total.
Yes. I only have those 10 since the divorce, which was finalized last year.
Okay.
In July.
All right. The first S is systems. What systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
I have fortune builders. I have great friends. I have a great network of people that I can bounce ideas off of and seek professional help if I need it. So like with the commercial deal, which by the way, that hotel I'm going to do is Airbnb. So I'm reaching out to other professionals that do Airbnb because that'll be a first for me. But I have that network and the accessibility to do that.
All right. The last and final S is success. What does success mean to you?
Success means being able to live the life that I've designed. There's no set number. This is how I'm going to feel when I can live in Costa Rica or live in Mexico or go to Greece for 2 months and not have the worries.
That's fantastic. And you had said earlier in the interview about living a life of intention, and I see that in everything that you do. So thank you so very much. What is the easiest way for our listeners to find you?
You can find me on Facebook. I don't have any more friends left. I don't have any friends, but you can always follow me. I'll be starting a professional page also in December. You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn as well.
Okay. And all those links are going to be in the show notes. So thank you, JoAnna. I just love you to pieces. And thank you so much for your time. Everybody else, that is all. Thank you for listening. And we will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.